Welcome to the Core Cultivation Podcast, where we break down the moves that matter most for your mental and physical well-being. I'm Marcia, your wellness architect with a mic, a mat, and a mission, and this is where coaching meets real life, so you can commit, own, rest and reflect, and engage your way to better health. Before we get started, please remember the information shared here is for educational purposes only and is not for formal medical or mental health advice. Always follow the guidance of your licensed healthcare provider. If you're in crisis, please dial 988 or go to your nearest emergency room. By listening, you acknowledge that you are responsible for your own mental and physical well-being, and you release Psycore Fitness, me, and any affiliates from any and all liability. Let's get started. Hey y'all, it's Marcia, your wellness architect with a mic, a mat, and a mission. And it is that time of year for New Year's resolutions. But you know me, I gotta come and kind of break through all of the noise and bring it to you straight as far as things that I see that we need to be doing differently. So, first off, I just want to say if your January has you feeling like you are already behind. If you feel like you should be doing more, things aren't happening fast enough, you're not seeing the changes that you want, let's just go on and pause and take a beat. I need you to hear this. Every step counts, especially and even the small one. So, we're talking about behavior change here in this episode, why slow, steady, thoughtful, and intentional wellness is often more effective than high intensity January overhaul. This is why so many people burn out, not because they're not disciplined, not because they're not motivated, not because they don't want to see change. They want all of that, but they're just doing too much too soon. Y'all, you're doing too much too soon. It's like, whoa, 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 whoa. Let's take a second and step back. So let's do just that and take a look at this from a bigger perspective and more thoughtful approach about how you can approach the changes that you want to make and hopefully make them in a way that will be sustainable over the long term. So let's just start with the setup. I can't speak for any of you all, but let's look at what we're coming out of when we hit January. We're coming out of a holiday season of 2, maybe 3 months, depending upon how you celebrate and how hard you go in, but an extended period of holiday hustle and bustle, holiday stress, emotional, maybe social exhaustion, ripping and running here and there. If you had some healthy routines, eating habits, movement regimens that were in place, it's likely that they got a bit disrupted. Not saying that they were completely, overhauled, but likely get disrupted during the holiday season. You're also dealing with a good bit of financial stress during the holidays, financial pressure to spend here, go there, do this. Intentional or not, it's there, it's present, and it can take a toll on you. Let's not forget that there's also the emotional stress and grief that many people might experience during the holiday season, emotional overwhelm, and just dealing with difficult feelings that often surface. And so, putting that in perspective, to stretch that out over a month, 2 months, and then we come out of that and expect to turn a corner and to somehow go into, all right, it's new year, new me, next level, time to do the most mode. That's just not even realistic. That I'm just tired thinking about that and envisioning that. Let's be thoughtful about what you're coming out of. You can't come out of a season of extended effort, extended work, like you're climbing a mountain or running a marathon, and then turn a corner and expect to just break out into a sprint. Like, that's not going to happen. And if it does, then you'll be burned out pretty soon. And this is what typically happens. But you can't turn that corner from all of that extended work and effort and expect to just go into an even higher intensity mode of work, even if that focus shifts from doing things for other people to working on your self care. You've got to think about your bandwidth and really be thoughtful about that. So these are the things that I hear I'm not doing enough. And these are things that I hear whether we're working on weight change, trying to implement healthy habits around sleep or self-care. I'm still messing up. I skipped this particular night. I didn't do my routine, whatever it is. They're not being consistent. It's not coming together as quickly and as easily as they wanted or expected. So if this sounds like you, I need you to know again that that doesn't mean that something's wrong with you. It doesn't mean that you're failing or that you're bad, your efforts are no good. This just means again that your expectations are probably exceeding your bandwidth and your capacity at this particular point in time. That's something that we can adjust. That's something that we can work with. But this is probably what's happening big picture wise. So let's first take a look at the myth of things happening quickly, fast results. We live in a space and in a culture where we want things to happen quickly, instantaneously, and when things don't happen quickly, then we start to experience frustration. Now, change can happen quickly. And there are some times when people are able to implement some changes and make some shifts and things happen quickly. And that's okay. But we can't always be sure that that quick change is lasting change. It's almost like, what goes up must come down, one hit wonders. These are the things, this is how I visualized a lot of quick change and things that happen really, really fast. There might be a lot of energy behind that quick change, but is it sustainable? It can give you a great jump start if you've got a lot of that energy and motivation at the beginning of a race. Again, I'm visualizing people at the beginning of a race. And this is a long race. And so people are amped up, they're ready to go, and they jump out there and they start sprinting. But this is a marathon and not a sprint. And so that high motivation is great to kind of get you mentally in the game. But when it comes to your pacing, you got to rein some of that energy in and spread it out over the long haul. Otherwise, you're going to run out of steam way too early. And this is the burnout that we might observe in other people or in ourselves when we start giving up on our particular resolutions or goals. So we go hard and we say we're going to do XYZ and then ABC. We might even tack on another three goals on top of that. And we're just doing the most, going hard. And all of that is out the window by or even before we hit February. So, again, if you can relate to this or if you've seen it happen, you're not lazy. This is not a something that you want to take personally as far as something that you're doing wrong or doing badly. You're not lazy. It's not about you not having willpower. It's just the setup. You again are likely asking your body and your mind to engage in routines that you're not quite ready to sustain at this point. It doesn't mean that you're ineffective. You just have to be more thoughtful and strategic about your approach. If you're not pacing yourself for that long haul, for that long game, then you're likely to burn out. And that's where we have Quitter's Day. And this is something really, I honestly, I forget about it until I see, emails and sales popping up talking about Quitter's Day. But this is what the second Friday of the new year in January, this is the time frame that most people end up abandoning their New Year's resolutions. Think about that. That's 2 weeks. into the new year. Maybe not even 2 full weeks, maybe depending upon the timing, but the 2nd Friday of the year and we're already done, that's a lot. This is reflective of the fact that people aren't preparing and have a plan behind their New Year's resolution. They're just maybe on that energy and on that high motivation intensity. But here's the truth when it comes to Quitter's Day, people aren't quitting again because they don't care. They're quitting likely because they did not have a good plan to back up the energy, the high motivation for that jump start that they had initially when they set out to work on that particular goal. But if your wellness plan, a way to check yourself is if your goal requires that you have an unlimited supply of energy, like you just got energy, like you can get it done, or if it requires you to be perfect in your discipline in exercising your routines, there's no room for error. Basically, if you are expecting to be a superhero, you're going to be consistent in everything you do every day, every time you do it. This is not a good plan. This is where we need to do some adjusting and make some changes because this isn't something that you're going to be able to sustain. We all are kind of up and down. We have good days and bad days, and even when we have great days, life can still throw us curveballs and throw us off of our game. So it's not so much your intentions, but you have to be thoughtful about realistic energy, bandwidth, discipline, and your ability to be consistent in the things that you're setting out to do. The plan didn't work, not the intention. You have to be clear about your intention and get a realistic plan together. And so I'm always emphasizing and encouraging people to be honest. This is important, okay? You got to get honest with yourself about what is it you are really trying to achieve in this moment right here right now. Not what you were trying to do last January, not what you were working on last summer or even last fall. Today, with today's circumstances, today's energy, today's bandwidth, what are you really trying to achieve? Are you wanting to feel better? Are you trying to reduce your stress levels? Are you looking to rebuild consistency in your routines? Are you trying to improve your overall health? Are you trying to look a certain way? Are you looking to hit a goal by a particular deadline? None of these goals are right or wrong, good or bad. You just need to know what it is and be clear and honest about what that goal is. Because if you're not honest about it, then you end up creating plans that don't align with it. And then you have a mismatch in what you're trying to achieve and how you're going to get there. And then you're just going to experience frustration throughout the process. So if you're trying to work on consistency, but then you pick or try to establish a routine that is unsustainable, then you're going to feel frustrated. You're going to be disappointed in yourself because you weren't able to do as much as you said you were going to do at the frequency that you said you were going to be able to do it, or you were only able to do it for a couple of days or a week and then you gave up and then you start beating yourself up. Or if your goal is you're wanting to work towards more peace and calmness, but you are implementing routines that are hardcore, punishing, and give no room for error, then you're going to experience a mismatch there. When you get clear about what you're really after, about what you really want, regardless of whether it's considered right or wrong or good and bad. If you get clear about what you want in your eyes, not according to anyone else, and then start working and creating a plan around that particular goal, it's going to give you clarity and that's going to reduce your frustration and also reduce the criticism, the self criticism that we can sometimes apply to ourselves when we fall short of working or achieving those goals. You got to be honest about what you want for yourself, not what anybody else says you should be working on or doing or whatever. You got to get honest. That also means you've got to be honest about your energy and your bandwidth. I feel like I need to just let that hang there a minute. I can't speak for anybody else, but every time I talk to somebody, they're talking about how they're tired and they don't have energy for this and they don't have time for this and life is life and adulting is this and everything is just taking and just pulling from you. Yet at the same time, I see people ripping and running, going to and fro and engaging in things seemingly without purpose and intention. So if you take that same approach of engaging in activities and routines without thoughtfulness or intention when it comes to your wellness goals and wellness resolutions, well, now we've got another problem. Now you are mindlessly pursuing something without giving true thought to what do I even feel like doing? That's really the question that you have to ask yourself. Okay, yes, I want peace, or yes, I want to lose weight, or yes, I want to get moving more, but what do I really feel like doing after 2 months of holiday hustle and bustle and however many weeks of life stress or financial, what do I really feel like doing? What does my bandwidth really and honestly say I have space and room for? How much energy do you actually have right now? Not yesterday, not 2 months ago, not last summer, but right now. Not how much do you wish you had, not how much do you think you should have, but how much do you truly have physically, mentally, and emotionally. If you're still recovering from the holidays, stress, illness, grief, life, adulting, politics, whatever it is, you may not be prepped and ready to go into a whole new wellness regimen, even with the best of intentions. You may need a minute to just get stable and just settle down, as opposed to getting started and trying to rev up your engines. You may need a minute to just breathe and get your bearings about you. Progress doesn't have to come from pushing through pain, pushing through discomfort. If anything, that's going to be a bad setup because then you're going to feel it later down the road and it's likely to be more damaging at that point. You have to respect where you are. I'm saying to people all the time, you've got to listen to your body. You've got to listen to your body. You've got to listen to your mind. You've got to listen to your heart. And you've got to do that constantly. So asking yourself and being honest about your bandwidth and your energy in the moment is required in order for you to really make a good decision around what goal you want to work towards and how you're going to work towards that goal. Another factor that needs to be taken into consideration is your personality style, your temperament, and your patience for change. So, one of the things that I've been encouraging people, if you dropped in on some of my streaming on YouTube, is to take some time and reflect on yourself, your wellness, your behavior patterns. Take some time and look back at the past. How have you operated? How have you done things? What's your personality style? And I say this because we can come into the new year with New Year's resolutions and plans for change, but we've not taken into consideration how our personality plays a role in that. Not everybody is going to change the same way. Some people kind of thrive on intensity or moving in short bursts. Other people need some predictability, a steady rhythm. Some people are going to need more flexibility. These are things that you can get a better gauge of when you take some time to look back at how have you made changes in the past? How have you operated in the past? When have you operated at your best? What were the circumstances around that? But looking at your capacity and willingness to be patient. If it's going to be a longer type of process, do you have difficulty with slow change? Do you typically expect instant and quick gratification? These things, again, aren't necessarily good or bad, but you need to know this before you start working towards a goal that is going to require long term change if you know that you're all about instant gratification. Because then you're going to experience that frustration by day 3, like it's not happening. It's like, well, it's only day 3. And again, this is a marathon and not a sprint. So being aware of how change works for you, and also, while I'm joking about it, but doing it from a non-judgmental perspective. If you know, hey, I like things to happen quickly, that's my style. So I know that if things aren't happening that way, that I'm going to have to put some things in place to help me manage my anxiety or frustration when I'm not seeing the change happen the way that I expect it to or want it to. Another trap that people can often fall into is comparing your change process to that of somebody else's. So maybe someone else has decided to get active and get moving, and they don't seem to have any trouble maintaining that discipline, being consistent with their routines. But for you, it's still taking everything in you just to get out of the bed. You're looking at what they're doing versus what you're doing, and why isn't it happening the same way? Their journey is not your journey, and vice versa. You've got to do what works for you. I know this is easier said than done, but try to avoid comparing your journey to someone else's. You don't know what all they may be dealing with. You don't know about all of the different factors that might be influencing or impacting their process. You got to work the plan that works for you and not what might be the most popular or what everybody else is doing, because it's got to fit you at the end of the day. And that's the most important thing. It's got to fit you, and it's got to fit you for the long term. Another area that you need to be honest with yourself is time. Going back to the idea of your willingness to be patient, how much time are you realistically willing and able to invest in this particular area right now? Again, right now, not last week, not last summer, not how much you think you should invest in it, how much you want to invest in it, how much time can you and are you realistically willing and able to invest in whatever it is, fill in the blank right now? Are you trying to work towards a short term goal? Is there an actual timeline, deadline that you're trying to meet when it comes to maybe improving your sleep or losing weight or getting active? Or are you trying to build sustainable and long-term healthy habits? Or are you really trying to get some quick fixes and some instant gratification with a shorter timeline? Like, no, I'm trying to drop this much weight by this particular day, time, whatever. I don't know. None of them are necessarily right or wrong. They're all valid. You just need to be clear about what it is for you. Because when you're not, then we've got confusion and then we've got a problem. You might be thinking and saying, well, I've got this much time that that I have available and that I'm willing to invest in this. But the truth is, no, I really don't have that time, or I don't want to invest that much time in it. I need to use that time for some other things. And that's what you've got to get clear on. The resolutions aren't going to do you any good if they're not backed up with real actions and steps that you can put behind it. And if you don't have the time, you can't do that. So all of the different levels of time investment, they're all valid. It's just you've got to get clear about how much time you really have available and are really willing to invest in that particular area. Just honesty, not right, not wrong, just honesty. Which brings me back to the bottom line. After you've assessed these various aspects, your bandwidth, your time, your goals, then you start working towards your particular goal. And how you do that is step by step. It does not have to be a big, huge commotion, a big overhaul, a big to do with all of this energy. That's why the small steps count. That's why the little inches moving forward is still moving forward. So every step counts, every walk, every stretch that you take, every time you take a moment to be intentional and take a breath, every time you choose to take a moment and do some self reflection. It's the little things, just steady forward motion that gets you there. That's what adds up. That consistency is going to beat intensity every time. What goes up must come down. The intensity will at some point have to give out. And so if we're consistent, we're able to kind of go and plug along longer for an extended period of time. All of this should feel good for you because this is why and where you have permission to do it your way. And so I'm going to say this and I want to say it clearly. Starting late still counts. Starting small still counts. And even restarting still counts. Maybe you started at the beginning of January and you did actually quit before or by Quitter's Day. Well, I mean, it's not like the year is over or January expired. Like, you can start again. There is no rule that says you cannot. So why not give it a go again? It's not really about the calendar anyway. This is about your desire to make change in your life. And there is no timeline or deadline on that. You can always start again. How does this play out for me when it comes to doing my own core work? I mentioned to a client the other day, I can't remember exactly what they said to me, but I reminded them and myself at the same time how balancing and the ebb and flow of wellness is constant. That's what wellness is, the constant balancing act. There is no you achieved it and you're good. You shift and adjust your balance and that ebb and flow based on how you're doing and how life is treating you. And so, with that effort to find balance, my core work of late one was to sit down. If you have been following me, you may have noticed here since the holidays, during the holiday season, and since the beginning of the year, my focus has been on slow and steady. The holiday haven was about calmness, pacing. I was intentional about trying to pace myself during the holidays. I've also been trying to slow down and pace myself even with the start of the new year, making choices to sit down, be thoughtful, and be consistent instead of trying to be impressive. Trying not to do everything, but do what I can well. Just as you're constantly working on things and having to revisit, I revisit them as well. So, a lot of what I've been doing this January has been trying to slow down on purpose, move with intention, giving myself permission to not do everything and just do what I can, giving myself permission not to be perfect, but to do well where I can. And that has allowed me to stay grounded, stay sane, and be present where I can. And that is what I want for you also. So, if you are needing some support in trying to slow things down as you start or restart this January or this year, then you're more than welcome to tap into the Wellness Wheel reflections and meditations or the 6-day spiritual challenge that is available on YouTube for your consideration, reflection, and opportunity for some introspection, or simply just staying connected through the podcast or other opportunities with the virtual classes. I encourage you to check out the January wellness options that are available, and I will post those in the show notes. But just as a reminder, you do not need intensity to make progress. You do not have to go big or go home. You just need to take that step and another step, no matter how big or small, and know that those steps will add up. Intention, consistency, and some self-compassion as you move forward. So I hope this has been helpful for you. Thank you so much for joining in. As you move through January, remember that you are not behind, you are building, and every step counts, even and especially the small ones. So until next time, take care and keep doing your core work.